Recording. Hello everyone. It's reading time with Kate, part 9. Oh, the ironing board's a bit more forward than normal. Just quickly, my 1-year-old's playing up. He's not going to bed. So we may hear him during reading time with Kate, part 9. He should be asleep. So, Dad is in prison, yeah? And Frank wants help to break him out of prison. So, we're on chapter 45 and it's the master plan. I am a vicar, exclaimed the vicar. And I am a librarian, exclaimed the librarian. We can't be, I think the phrase is, busting your father out of prison. Please, listen to me first, said the boy. The words tumbled out as Frank told the 2 old ladies the whole story. How Dad had borrowed money from the evil Mr. Big and how the debt had spiralled. How his father had been tricked into taking part in the robbery. How Dad had kept quiet in the trial to save his son from being hurt by Big's henchmen, fingers and thumbs. The boy finished up by saying, that judge was wrong. My dad is not a bad dad. He is a good man who did a bad thing. He did it to save me from getting hurt. Dad doesn't deserve to be in prison. We need to help him escape. Well, when you say it like that, I'd want to help him get Dad free. The 2 ladies looked at each other in silence. It was Reverend Judith who spoke first. A great wrong has been done to your father. No doubt about it. I wish we could do something to right that wrong. But with respect, Judith, 2 wrongs don't make a right, said Flip. The lady then turned to Frank. I'm sorry, but you're asking us to take part in something very wrong. I promise you those 10 years will pass before you know it. This made the boy mightily angry. 10 years! 10 years! I will be 21 in 10 years. An old man! Frank stood up, knocking his chair over. And you know what, Auntie Flip? I hate quiche and poetry. I want my dad back. And if you won't help me, I'll do it by myself. Frank ran out of the dining room and up the stairs to his bedroom. Frankie, called Flip after him. The boy slammed the door and lay down on his little pink bed, his legs dangling off the end. He could hear that the 2 ladies were talking downstairs. Frank picked up an empty glass on the bedside table. He slid off the bed and put his ear to the glass and the glass on the floor so he could listen to what they were saying. Those 2 henchmen have been terrorising people all over town, said Judith. They need to be stopped. They even stole the gold communion goblet from the church. Dreadful! I came face to face with them in court, a truly nasty pair. It's not fair that the boy's father is paying the price for their misdeeds. You forget he drove the getaway car. There's no escaping that. Gilbert committed a serious crime, but he only did it to protect his son. Oh, it's such a mess. But if my nephew did try to escape from prison, he would be captured and sent straight back and get a longer sentence. We have to do something, though. If only there was some way of putting all that money back. Ping! The boy's brain lit up with an idea. That was exactly what he could do to help his father. Put the money back in the bank. How could Dad be guilty if no money was missing? Trembling with excitement, Frank wonkily wrote down his master plan. Exciting. So this is his master plan. Number 1, break into Mr. Big's country house. Number 2, steal £500,000 out of Mr. Big's safe. Number 3, break into the bank. Number 4, put £500,000 in the bank's vault. Sounds like a good plan. Also sounds quite a challenging plan. It was simple but brilliant. There was just one problem. The boy had absolutely no idea how he could put any of this plan into action. All Frank knew was that it would be impossible to do it alone. He needed a grown-up to help him, but who? There was one person Frank knew who could give him some advice. His friendly local newsagent. Remember Raj? "Ah, my favourite customer," exclaimed Raj on seeing the boy. The newsagent tried to be his usual jolly self, but there was sadness in his eyes. The man was sweeping up shards of broken glass from the floor. Someone had smashed in the front window of his shop. "Are you all right, Raj? What happened?" Raj picked up a brick from the counter. This came through the window in the middle of the night. It came with a note attached to it. Look. It read, "We demand £200 a week or next time the brick will hit you." That's awful. "Fingers and thumbs?" asked Frank. "Of course. They need to be stopped. I know. I don't know where I'm going to find the money. I'm sorry I don't have any today." "That's all right, young sir. I know times are hard with your father in prison." Raj put a comforting arm round the boy. "Please help yourself to anything in my shop for free." "Free?" Frank couldn't believe his ears. "Yes, anything you like." "Wow, thank you, Raj." "Up to a value of 8p. Oh, the boy couldn't hide his disappointment. He picked up the smallest chocolate bar he could see. "That's 10p, young man." "Oh." "Pass it to me, please," said Raj, gesturing with his hands. The boy did what he was told. Raj then unwrapped the bar, took a bite off the end and passed it back to the boy. "That was a 2p bite. There you go. We are even now." "Thanks, Raj." Frank was too hungry to worry about Raj's gob gloop on the bar and happily demolished it in seconds. "My dad isn't a real bad guy, you know." "I'm sure. He is a good man, your father. Fingers and thumbs made him do it." "That makes sense. And they are free to threaten everyone in town while your poor father sits in jail." "I can't bear it. I can't imagine. Have a free penny chew." "Thanks, Raj," replied Frank, popping a raspberry fizz in his pocket for later. "Dad got caught up in this really bad debt that spiralled way out of control. He was only trying to help me. Now I need to help him. I just need to steal the £500,000 from the men who stole it in the first place and put it back in the bank." Raj pondered on this. "I suppose if nothing was stolen, then the judge might let your father out of prison." "That's what I'm hoping. But how on earth are you going to steal the money and put it back in the bank?" The boy looked down to the floor. "I have absolutely no idea." "Oh," replied the newsagent. "I am sorry, I have no idea either. The only person I know who could help me do all that is my dad," said Frank. "Well, you could always wait 10 years until he was let out of prison and do it then." Frank looked at the newsagent. Surely no one was that daft. "There would be no point, Raj, as he would have served his time by then." "Oh, yes, silly me." The newsagent slapped himself in the face. "To get my dad out of prison, I have to get him out of prison." Raj looked puzzled. "That is like a riddle, but yes, you are right. The problem is your dad was sent to the most high-security jail in the country. In 100 years, no one has ever escaped from Wrongfoot prison." "No? Wrongfoot is where they put all the naughtiest criminals." "It's not fair," exclaimed the boy. "My dad doesn't deserve to be in there. I hate not being with him. Now I have to live with his aunt, Auntie Flip." Raj suddenly remembered something. "I had Auntie Flip in here this morning. She wanted to know if I sold goose." "Goose?" "She said she needed one for a quiche." "Oh no. That will be for my dinner. I told her she might be able to catch one down by the ponds. She'd never been into my shop before." "Then how did you know it was her?" asked the boy. "She looks exactly like your father, older of course, and a lady, but I could immediately see the resemblance. The same sticky out ears that you have. No offence." "None taken," lied the boy. "I asked her if she and your father were related, and she explained who she was. To my eyes, they could be twins." So there's a picture here of Gilbert and Auntie Flip. They both have little eyes. Can you see? Oh, I'm just checking it's still filming. Can you see there? They both have little eyes. They both have sticky out ears. They both have wobbly tummies, small hands and dainty feet. And also I'm still filming, so this is good. And my 1-year-old might be asleep. I can't hear anything. Frank screwed up his face. You think so? Put some glasses on him and he would be her double. Ha ha, the boy chuckled. His eyes widened as he started to see his plan unfold in his mind. Raj, you are a genius. Am I? Yes. The boy was so happy he wanted to dance. He grabbed hold of Raj and gave him a big kiss on his balding head. Thank you, thank you, thank you. What did I do? The newsagent was befuddled. I am sorry, Raj. It's a secret for now. The boy skipped off down the street. All he had to do now was persuade Auntie Flip to swap places with his dad in prison. How hard could that be? Sorry. How is he going to do that? Anyway. Chapter 47. Where did you get that goose? No! Shouted Auntie Flip. No, 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 no. Absolutely 100% no. So that's a no, asked Frank. Yes, that's a no. Now finish up your goose and gooseberry quiche. Ugh. The pair were sitting together at the dining table in Auntie Flip's little house. The boy had the tiniest inkling that his great aunt wouldn't like the idea of swapping places with his dad in prison, but he wasn't giving up yet. Well, I can see why Auntie Flip said no quite a few times. Frank took a bite of his quiche. As usual, it tasted horrible. Auntie Flip, yes. Where did you get the goose? The lady looked sheepish. From a shop? What shop? The goose shop, she said, avoiding his gaze. Flustered, she got up from the table and disappeared into the kitchen. It was a perfect opportunity for Frank to hurl the rest of the quiche out the window. Unfortunately, Frank hadn't realised the window was shut and the quiche trickled down the glass. Oops, said the boy as he ran to the window and tried to clean the bits of gooseberry and pastry off the window with his sleeve. Then he took the empty plate into the kitchen. That was absolutely delicious, Auntie Flip, lied Frank. Well, he's selling porkies, isn't he? The lady softened. No one had ever complimented her on her quiches before. Oh, thank you. Would you like some more? Oh, no, 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 replied the boy, a little too quickly. I am completely full. You cooked such a delicious meal. That was one of your top 50 quiches of all time. Now, come on, let me do the washing up tonight. What a good boy you are. Thank you, I will dry. Frank stood at the sink and began washing the plates. He realised if he was going to reel his great aunt into his plan, he was going to have to do it very gently. The vicar is such a smart lady, isn't she? Oh, yes, very much so. Passing a freshly washed dinner plate to his great aunt, the boy said. You should invite her over for dinner again. We'll see, replied Flip. What is stopping you? I don't know. Fear? Of what? Of what might happen between me and her. I like her, you see, Frankie. I like her very much. Well, surely that is nothing to be scared of. The lady let out a sad sigh. My whole life has been ruled by fear. Maybe that is why I've never been kissed. Maybe. Now seems like the perfect time to change. The boy let this settle into Auntie Flip's mind. So how long exactly would I have to swap places with your father for? She asked tentatively. Just one night, the boy replied casually. Just one night in prison. Think of it as a little holiday. Then with Dad on the outside, he and I can steal the money back off Mr. Big and put it in the bank. Then the next morning you can swap again. First thing in the morning? Yes, first thing. I hear the breakfasts in prison aren't great. You won't have to eat the breakfast. I'm not sure. Think of it as an adventure. I've never had an adventure. Well, now is the time to start, and I wouldn't be surprised if Judith saw you as a hero. You think so? I know so. Flip took a deep breath. Frankie, the most excitement I've ever had in my life is when I got to charge someone a £23 fine for a library book that had been overdue for a year, she confessed. This is all too thrilling, asked the boy. Yes, that's it, thrilling. The lady's face lit up. Not too thrilling, just thrilling. Frank, this is madness, but I'm in, yes. So, Frank's plan is for Auntie Flip to go into prison to swap with Dad because they look like each other because they're obviously brother and sister. And then Dad to come out, steal the money, and then he swaps back. This is a genius. Let's find out. So, how are they going to do this? Chapter 48, Wrong Foot. So that's the name of the prison. Visiting day at the prison was every Saturday. For Frank, it couldn't come soon enough. Wrongfoot Prison was a big, ugly building with a big, ugly wall around it. Visiting hours were strict, and Frank and Flip joined the long queue that snaked around the wall. There were pregnant women in leggings, screaming toddlers, weeping mothers, terrifying shaven-headed men, and even more terrifying shaven-headed women. Flip was holding a freshly baked quiche in a tin that was a gift for Frank's father, pigeon and plum. That sounds disgusting. The trouble was she was so frazzled with nerves she was rattling it like crazy. It was as if she had 100 jumping frogs in that tin. Try to keep that thing still, Auntie Flip, hissed Frank. Everyone is staring. The lady looked around to see that there were hundreds of sets of eyes staring back at her. Even the screaming toddlers had momentarily stopped screaming and were gawping. There's nothing to see here, announced Auntie Flip, which made her seem guilty or nutty or even worse, both. Just a quiche in a tin. Pay me no heed. Frank snatched the tin from her. Just stay calm, the boy reassured her. This is going to be a doddle. A doddle? I haven't slept a wink all week. Flip had spent all morning trimming and styling her hair so it looked as much like her nephew's as possible. The lady had put on her longest floatiest dress too, in the hope that the man would be able to fit into it. The plan was that, at just the right moment, Frank would drop the quiche on the floor and then Flip and Dad would scramble under the table to pick up the pieces. While under the table, they would swap clothes. If all went to plan, then Dad would leave prison disguised as Auntie Flip and Auntie Flip would stay in prison disguised as Dad. What could possibly go wrong? What's in that tin? Barked the prison guard as the pair entered the visitor's room. His name badge read Mr. Swivel. It was hard not to notice him with his bulging glass eye, which swivelled in his head as he spoke. It's a Auntie Flip was so nervous she couldn't answer. The guard looked at the lady. What's a quiche, Mr. Swivel, sir, said Frank, opening the tin to prove it. People would often try to smuggle things into prison, booze, mobile telephones, weapons and all sorts, so everything had to be checked. Mr. Swivel put his nose inside the tin and sniffed the quiche. His face turned a shade of green. What on earth is in that thing? He demanded. Pigeon and plum, answered Flip proudly. Ugh, replied Mr. Swivel. Move along, chop chop. The pair shuffled into the visitor's room. Everything in there was grey walls, grey furniture, grey people. Dad was sitting on the far side of the room in his grey prison overalls. As soon as he saw his son, he jumped up out of his chair with tears in his eyes. The man looked happy and sad all at once. May, he cried. Dad, exclaimed Frank, as he rushed towards the man with his arms wide open. They came together in the tightest hug, which neither ever wanted to break. I'm so happy to see you, mate, sniffed Dad. And I'm even happier to see you. I've missed you so much. Then, Dad, the boy whispered. Yeah, this is all going to seem very strange, but you have to trust me. I'm going to get you out of here. Ow! Not too loud, Dad, whispered the boy. Sorry, you need to trust me and do exactly what I tell you. Auntie Flip had been caught up with the pair and was standing behind Frank. Good afternoon, I have made you a quiche, she announced rather stiffly. Oh, thank you, Auntie Flip, replied Dad, with a pained look on his face. The man had grown up eating his aunt's awful quiches and was lucky to still be alive. Let's all sit down and talk, shall we? Said the boy. As the prison guard circled, keeping an eye on everyone, as Mr. Swivel passed out of earshot, Frank whispered, In a moment, I'm going to drop the quiche on the floor. It's going to break. You and Auntie Flip are going to disappear under the table to pick up the pieces. But really, you are going to change your clothes." "You what?" replied Dad. "Trust me, Dad. Then tonight, me and you are going to put the money that was stolen back in the bank and get you out of here for good." "Mate," Dad's eyes lit up. "You are a genius." "You take after your father. If you were a genius, you wouldn't be in here," said Auntie Flip unhelpfully. The man shot his aunt a look. "Let's not fall out before we've even started," said the boy. He held the quiche in his hands. "Now I'm going to drop this in 3, 2, 1, boing." It didn't break. The quiche bounced. Frank caught it on the way back up. "What on earth do you put in these things?" said Dad. "I don't like to divulge my secret recipes," replied his aunt. "Have another go," said Dad. The boy threw the quiche down on the floor again as hard as he could. Boing! But it bounced right back up and hit the ceiling. Splat! It stuck there. "Oh no," said Frank. "Right, this is not going to plan." The three stared up at it. "What are we going to do now?" asked Dad. "Let me climb on your shoulders," replied the boy. His father quickly hoisted the boy up. "What are you doing?" demanded Mr. Swivel. "Oh, the quiche slipped out of my hand," lied Flip, "and it stuck on the ceiling," said the prison guard. "Well, it is pigeon flavoured, so maybe it flew up," she said. Frank peeled the quiche off the ceiling. "We have it now, thank you, sir." "Sit down, the three of you," ordered Mr. Swivel. They did what the prison guard said. As soon as his back was turned, Frank snapped into action. "One last go," said the boy. "Fingers crossed," said Dad. The boy slammed the quiche down as hard as he could on the floor. Boof! It broke into 100 pieces. "Whoops! I dropped the quiche," announced the boy to everyone in the visitors' room. The two grown-ups slid under the table. The game was on. So there's Dad and his Aunt Flip. Okay. And they're under the table. So they're going to swap clothes. Let me just check the time. Okay. Chapter 49. Just as the fearsome prison guard, Mr. Swivel, was becoming more and more suspicious as to why these two had been under the table for so long, Flip slid up onto Dad's chair without her glasses and wearing Dad's prison overalls. She passed rather well for her nephew. Next, Dad slid up onto Flip's chair. The boy had to stifle a giggle at the sight of his dad wearing one of Flip's famous floaty dresses. The glasses softened his face, and from a distance he might just pass as the elderly librarian. "Stop giggling, mate," hissed Dad. "You'll give the game away." "Sorry, Dad." "I think I look rather cool," said Dad, "though now I can't see a thing. My word, these glasses are thick. I can't see either," added Flip. Dad looked down at his feet. "Oh no!" "What, Dad?" "There's something you forgot. My wooden leg." The boy looked under the table. Dad's wooden foot and ankle were poking out from the bottom of the dress. "What's all this whispering?" demanded Mr. Swivel as he twirled his stick. "Nothing, Mr. Swivel," said Dad in a high voice that was a little too high. "Nothing, Mr. Swivel," said Flip in a voice that was a little too low. The boy glanced down to his father's wooden foot. The guard clocked this, and this one real eye was drawn down there too. "Lady, I don't remember you having a wooden leg when you came in," he barked. "Oh no, is Mr. Swivel onto them?" "Oh yes, Mr. Swivel," replied Dad, his voice cracking a little as he tried to sound ladylike. "Solid oak." "But you've got a wooden leg too," snarled the guard, his eyes swivelling onto Flip. "Yes, they run in the family," she replied. Frank rolled his eyes. "Well, Auntie Flip, we'd better get going," said the boy, eager to get out of there before any more suspicion was raised. "Right you are," said the lady, getting up from her chair. "I mean, this Auntie Flip here," said Frank, grabbing his father by the arm. "Oh yes, of course," said the lady. "I'd better be getting back to my prison cell, wherever that is." "Stop right there," barked Mr. Swivel. "Let's just check you really are who you say you are. Stand still." Let's see if you really do have a wooden leg. If you do, then this won't hurt at all. Auntie Flip stood still as Frank and his father looked on anxiously. Mr. Swivel swivelled his baton before whacking the lady hard on the leg with it. Whack! To her credit, Flip did not cry out in pain. Instead, she pursed her lips and heroically held it in. It was enough to convince Mr. Swivel. Off you go then, he barked. Auntie Flip limped off in pain, which of course only helped the illusion that her leg was wooden. Without her glasses, she walked straight into a guard. Oh, silly me, she said. Frank grabbed his father by the arm and hurried him out of the visitors' room. Just as they reached the door, their path was blocked by a wall of man. Oof! Sorry, said the boy, bumping into him. Looking up, oh no. He realised it was someone he knew only too well. Thumbs. Right, we'll leave it there. And earlier, just to clarify, I think I said Auntie Flip and Gilbert, obviously Frank's dad, brother and sister. No, Auntie Flip is his auntie. Gilbert, Frank's dad, is her nephew. Sorry. Anyway, Reading Time with Kate, part 9, has finished for this week. Oh, we haven't got long left, so we're going to find out how this gets on. Whether Frank and Dad are able... Wow, how are they going to get... Well, first they've got to get past thumbs, okay? And then are they going to be successful with stealing the money? We'll leave it there. So Dad and Frank have, just as they were leaving, have bumped into thumbs. That's not great. So Reading Time with Kate part 9 has finished for this week. And then we will find out next week whether they are successful with their master plan. All right, well, stay safe and see you soon. Okay, bye.